Well, folks, it's time to suit up for another episode of the Soul Sessions. But with me today, the monster among the weak, wrestling's newest monster, Monstrum. Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my absolute pleasure, pal. But obviously, as a monster like yourself, there must be a story to your beginning. So, how did your story begin within the world of professional wrestling?
Well, how I got involved in professional wrestling, like most people, as you can imagine, I've been a fan for years and years and going to the indie shows. And every so often I would say to myself, oh, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. And I just never did. Just always found a reason to put it off and stuff. And then one day I was just sort of sitting by myself watching the telly and sort of scrolling on the internet and stuff. And I had a couple of beers. And I advert for the wrestling school that I go to with Joe in Edinburgh popped up. And I don't know if it's because I've had a wee bit to drink or something. I finally went, I'm just going to go for it. Signed up for it, paid it, and then went, oh, well, I've done it now. I guess I've got to go. Went along to training and absolutely fell in love with it. Best decision I ever made. It was fantastic.
Oh, no bad, my friend. I got to ask. I've always been fascinated about when guests come on the show, when they first hit the ropes and they take their first bumps and everything. How did that feel for you, pal?
The bump wasn't too bad. I was expecting it to be a lot worse because obviously you hear the horror stories of like people hit it and go like, oh, the wind goes out of me. It was like, ow, but it wasn't too bad. It was the ropes where I found you see the ropes and you think, oh, there's a bit of spring in them. There's genuinely not. It's just ropes and it's just you hitting something and chucking you back. And that was the one I was like, okay, right, this is real here. And you just need to build up a callus to it. And there's no easy way to learn how to hit the ropes. You've just got to keep going it till it doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah, those ropes are a hell of a thing. Is that something you feel like fans don't understand? The ropes are absolute bastard.
Yeah, that's because you wouldn't think it, but they're an absolute nightmare.
Oh, no, of course. And obviously you are wrestling's, latest monster, and you have that, I got to say, fucking amazing mask. Oh, my days. I need to know the story behind this mask.
So, when I was moving into doing like the monster gimmick and things like that, I sort of wanted to get a mask because there's not people my size who have a mask anymore. It's all plenty of lucha guys and lots of flippy guys with masks, but there's not big guys with masks anymore, which is I'd say up there my favorite type of wrestlers. So you got like Kane and Abyss and Vader and all that sort of stuff, who are absolutely amazing to watch, and there just isn't guys like that on the scene anymore. So I figured that's a niche that I can do, and also it's awesome. Let's be honest. So I went and got the mask and looked around, and eventually I saw this cool looking mask. I thought, oh, that's perfect. But originally they advertised it instead of the red, it was in like yellow. So I messaged it and been like, can you change the colors and stuff like that? And I went, oh, I've got this idea. And the guy was like, yep, not a problem. I can do that. And then it came out and I was just like, this is just great. Absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely. It's a hell of a mask. I need to know, Monstrum, yourself. You mentioned the big men with the masks and everything. Your top 3 favorite masks for these big guys.
Oh, it's a good one. Well, you've got to go original Kane for a starter. I mean, it's cliche for a reason. It's the best for a reason. I'm also a huge fan of Vader as a mask because you don't, although it's not like a full mask, it's like a muzzle holding it back. I really just thought it was great. And Abyss as well, because just the character that mask and stuff can bring across is fantastic.
Of course, absolutely. They're very, very iconic. And you mentioned there, not seeing really many big men wearing a mask anymore. It's like a lost art. The only one that comes to my mind is Luchasaurus in AEW. Why do you think big men with masks is sort of like a lost art?
Well, you tend to find that there's not nearly as many big men in wrestling as in general anymore. It's a whole thing. So I don't know why. I don't know if it's because it's not easy to wrestle in a mask. You do need to get used to it. It's quite a sort of an art not an art, but it takes some getting used to. And a lot of sort of big guys, they don't need it because it's a lot harder because you don't have that facial expression. You'll find that if you watch the lucha guys and stuff, a lot of their character comes from the body movement and things like that. Whereas a lot of things, if you're in a submission, you can express that pain on your face. You can't do that in a mask, and it does make it harder. But I feel once you get it sorted and you can use those body movements, it does make it worth it. So I think that's the main reason why you don't see as many sort of big guys in masks nowadays.
Yeah, no, of course. I can't imagine the whole cardio with that mask on. I had Alan Angels on, and he mentioned ripping that mask off because he fucking hated breathing in it. For you, Monstrum, do you think the same, or do you think you have to adjust to it?
Oh, it's one of those things. You can adjust it, but you'll never get fully used to it. You'll never get fully used to something on your face. I remember I'd done a show fairly recently which Ninja Mac was on, and I was asking him some advice about working on a mask and things like that. He basically said to me that, yeah, you're never going to get used to it. It's just how it is. You'll sort of learn to live with it, but it'll never not feel unnatural on your face. It just which is good. Oh, it's good. I thought it was just me that felt like that. So that was quite, and that's a guy who needs his cardio with the stuff that he does.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is strange, and I'm quite lucky because mine is open at the bottom, so it helps for getting air and stuff through that way. I imagine like a face tight one would be even worse.
Oh, perfect. Who knows? Maybe you'll have some custom gear with some fans blowing some air up your phone.
Well, that'd be nice. Yeah, that would make life a lot easier.
Well, especially in our country now, because it's an absolute fucking shit show with the heat right now.
Yeah, it's an absolute nightmare. Yeah, I'm not built for heat. I'm built for cold.
Well, in the country I would say it's perfect country because right now we're having a whole flip of fate right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, obviously you would have a match, a wrestle carnival. You against Judas Gray, Field. I'm sorry, Field King. Sorry, Ronan King.
Yes.
Doing a triple threat match. Is that kind of like extra mentality? Have to have that thought, like, oh, I'm having one guy there, but there's also another guy on my side.
Yes, and you particularly fight against those two guys as well because they are dead fast and flippy and things like that. It does add an element to the match of you need to be on your toes. Because if you can take one out, you can focus on the other man, but he's not going to stay down for long. He's jumping, and you generally find with guys like that, I can get them if I can catch them and do stuff to them, but it's actually getting a hold of them is an absolute nightmare. Because I've wrestled Judas on a number of occasions, and I can sort of chuck him about and stuff like that once I've got him, but he's just so quick and so flippy and stuff like that. But he is a nightmare to get a hold of. And to be fair with Ronan, there's nothing better than hitting him in his smug face because you were at disco, you see what he's like. It's very satisfying to punch him. Yeah, I very much enjoy it. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yes, of course, the crowd were comparing him to a discount Logan Paul.
Yes, which I'm sure he's a big fan of, which makes me laugh.
I can't imagine. But promotion you've been wrestling for, which has been doing great things, and I've heard many great things about Community Pro Wrestling. Absolute great promotion. For our fans who may be not aware of Community Pro, what is it that's so special about Community Pro that people might not be knowing?
Community Pro is one of my favorite places to wrestle. It's absolutely fantastic. I think the main reason I love it so much is that every time you go, the crowds are so into it. It's absolutely bouncing everywhere. We've got some top talents working on that show as well. I bet just every time you go somewhere, the crowd's bouncing, and that atmosphere helps because it's a bit of a twofold thing. Is us as wrestlers want to get the crowd involved and help the crowd, but if the crowd's willing to come with you, you can pull them up that extra, and it just elevates the whole performance. And that's why Community's so good. It's just the crowds are so good.
Yeah, of course, crowds, are the life and blood of this business. They're there and providing the whole show. But I feel like what I've noticed, and it's a running theme with this season of the Soul Sessions, is ring psychology is being missed within professional wrestling. Yeah. For you, Monstrum, why do you think it's being missed in current day wrestling?
I think it's more of that indie style that's come along in the last wee while, whereas I dislike sort of saying just flippy stuff and all that, because the people who popularized that are being massively successful. So if they've been massively successful, who am I to say that this is wrong? I feel it does miss a bit of psychology in the case of like see some guys that used to be my size who are bumping over nothing and stuff like that. And it's like, that doesn't make sense because you need to tease it. You need to bring it out from them. You need to tell us. The most important thing a wrestler can do is tell a story in the ring. And you need to build that story. If you just go straight to the end, and in the end is the whole match, why should I care? You need to establish who everyone is, and then build a story off of that. I think that's. But I think an element of why psychology is missing now is that people, is like, oh, I want to go and do all my moves, I want to get all my stuff in and all that stuff. It's like, no, it's like, doesn't matter if you hit all of your stuff. So I could hit a dozen flips or something, and people go, oh, that's great, but then no one's going to care about the rest of the match. It's like, oh, that's what I care about. But as whereas if we build a match in such a case of, oh, they can't knock me off my feet, I keep putting them down, and then all of a sudden, right at the end, they build up the fire, boom, I finally go down, crowd goes up. That's a much better, because the crowd's invested by that point, and that you'll get a much better response, a much better return when that's the case.
No, absolutely. And I want to know, like, from your point of view, say when you come out the curtain with their mask on and the whole badass fucking trench coat on, and you see the crowd there, and they're, I would say, like, they're looking at you and thinking, fuck, that's someone you don't want to fuck with. From your point of view, when you notice the crowd, is there certain things you like to key on and focus on? Like, I'm going to get that.
Bits and pieces. I hopefully, like you said, I get that initial, as the sort of crowd come out. It's like, who is this guy? And then one of the things I like to do is be fairly slow going to the ring. People say, oh, he's slow. And then I remember I was hearing a video where Undertaker talked about this. It was slow, and then boom, snap, go for it. And then speed up instantly, because then they can go, oh crap, he's not just big, he's fast, he can do stuff. But it's if I just came out of that curtain sprinting and just doing all sorts of stuff, people wouldn't. You need to give them a chance to understand what they're looking at. So that you process, oh, there's a big guy in a mask, oh, look at him, he's quite big, oh, now he's fast. You need to give them, it's the story, it's steps. I think that's the main thing there.
No, absolutely. And as well, Monstrum, you would actually have an accolade on this show. You've given one of our guests a bit to his losing streak. Good old Martin McAllister, the Scotch underdog.
Yes, I think I've wrestled Martin 3 or 4 times now.
You're piling up them numbers for that boy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm more than happy to do it as well. I'm quite happy to face Martin, mostly because I win when I face Martin, but everyone does, to be fair. But no, Martin's a top talent. He's as soon as he gets this losing streak over and he can finally hit a match, I think he'll be doing great stuff. He just needs to get a win. Then he should be fine.
One day he will get that. I said to him,
I'm sure he will.
Roll up. How about the roll up? I feel like that's what he needs to do. But for you, what would you think Martin needs to do to get this win?
I don't know. Because for Martin, he needs to. At this stage, it seems like he's tried everything, to be honest. He's tried going after guys and going smaller guys, bigger guys, tag matches, and it just. I don't know what it is about Martin, but he just can't seem to grab it. And it's, I'm sure he will one day, and I look forward to seeing it.
One day that boy will get his W, and he can put it on his Instagram profile with glee and accolades. But
Messi's Instagram photo when they won the cup. That's all that sort of stuff.
That is going to be the most liked post on Instagram, 100% guaranteed.
Yes, definitely.
But Monstrum, someone else you've associated with is another guest of the show, and is the Community Pro Wrestling champion. Decisive as always, Thatcher Wright.
Yes.
The right way. I need to know why align yourself with Thatcher Wright, because some people will say that's a bad move. He's a dickhead. Why Thatcher Wright?
Well, the thing is with Mr. Wright is, yes, I understand why people wouldn't want to be associated with it, but the difference I've found with looking to Mr. Wright and other people is, what's the one thing, especially Community Pro Wrestling, that Mr. Wright has that no one else does? He's got the belt. So he's clearly doing something right. So why I would associate myself with someone who is achieving in these companies and who's winning and who's at the top of the card. That's who I believe I need to be associated with. And that's why I'm with Mr. Wright.
Oh, well, fair dues. I'm guessing you're a believer in the Baroness Margaret Thatcher, the way that people should follow?
Yes, I believe so. Definitely, as is required, definitely. Mr. Wright has shown me the way in that regards. And definitely, I feel it's something that needs to be brought back. And if me and Mr. Wright are attempting to do that across wrestling, yes.
No, absolutely. When Thatcher Wright came on the show, he talked about how he wanted to connect to a particular audience, the ICW audience, and show them the way. Why do you think the ICW audience in particular are lost in their mindset when it comes to Baroness Margaret Thatcher?
Well, I think is that ICW always has had the reputation as the hardcore mental promotion. It literally has the word insane in the name. So I feel that is why they are particularly against Mrs. Thatcher. And it's sort of that rebel, we're not going to sort of bow down to authority idea, which is in the core of ICW. But I believe Mr. Wright is doing a good job of converting the ICW audience. I'm not saying it's going to happen anytime soon. He's still got a lot of work to do because it's a big job. But I'm sure if given enough time, he will be able to achieve that.
Well, who knows? Maybe he might need some backup, Monstrum. Would you love to make your way to ICW?
Well, if Mr. Wright requires me to, I will be there. I'm just, at the current moment, he is not in need of my services there. As soon as he says that he needs me there, I'll be there. Not a problem at all.
Well, absolutely glad to see. But I need to know, Monstrum, obviously there's personal gain from this. Is there a particular person you want to face in ICW or a particular championship you would love to hold?
Yes, to both of those questions, and it's all of them and all of them. It's, yes, I want to face everyone there is to face in both, not just ICW, but in Scottish wrestling, British wrestling in general. Belts in ICW, I also want to hold as many as I can get my hands on, all of them. It's like one of those things that I was discussing facing sort of smaller guys. I believe these belts, if getting your hands on them is going to be the hard point. And once I've been able to get my hands on them, I can't see anyone being able to take them off me.
Well, I think the monstrosity of Scottish professional wrestling will have a Roman Reigns-like reign with any Scottish championship.
Yes, definitely.
Well, absolutely. And one of the great Scottish promotion is Discovery Wrestling. Discovery is a great show, and I need to know, for viewers who may be not familiar with Discovery Wrestling, what is Discovery Wrestling?
Discovery Wrestling is fantastic. I think it's up there with one of the best promotions in Scotland, definitely. I would say up there with best promotions in the UK. It's just the level of talent and concentration on that show is absolutely amazing. You were there last night. You see the number of amazing talents coming on. And when you've got the likes who weren't even there, or the likes of Joe Hendry, for example, and others who weren't even there, who are there on a regular basis. And then they've had the likes of Eric Young, and this time last year was on the show, as well as a few other imports. We've had Mark Haskins in the last year as well. So these top talents coming to face the top talents of Scottish wrestling, it's a place to be. And I have to admit, it's one of the most fun promotions I've ever been a part of as well. I don't know if you were at the previous show, the Back to the Future show.
I wasn't.
Oh no, there's if you've people who's been in the show and watched will know what I'm on about. But the match between the Foundation of the Future versus Aspen, Caleb, and I believe it was Johnny Lyons is one of the most fun I've had watching professional wrestling. It was absolutely fantastic. And it was just stupid, but it was stupid in the best kind of way. It was brilliant.
It's fun. That's what we love to see from professional wrestling.
Exactly.
Fun. Obviously, the Disco Derby was, yesterday at the time of recording. But before that, you would align yourself with Robb Stow and you attacked Joe Hendry.
Yes, I did.
I mean, everyone loves Joe Hendry. Well, some do. So obviously, you don't love Joe Hendry, but why attack Joe Hendry?
Well, it comes from what I was saying earlier, is that I need to be involved at the top of the card, because that's who me and Stowe, and obviously Mr. Manival, are going to go to the top of Discovery Wrestling. And who was at the top of Discovery Wrestling? Joe Hendry. So that's a man we need to take out and push out our way. So we've done that by making a splash. Joe is no longer, obviously Joe wasn't even at the disco because we took him out. Stuff like that. So now that's one less person we now need to deal with on our ascendancy to the top. So I'm not saying it's stopping with Joe. I'm not going to say it is either.
Well, I mean, from what I gained of obviously the footage of you attacking Joe, you took out a champion, and Joe is the Impact Digital Media champion. Yes. I think that you deserve a title shot for taking out the champ.
Well, I would think that as well, but like I said, Joe's currently running scared from myself and Rob. So if he's willing to sort of put his money where his mouth is and say, we caught him from behind and stuff like that, well, she'll put that bet in the line. I'll stand across the ring from him and we'll see what happens.
Well, I gladly would love to hear Monstrum as the new Impact Digital Media champion.
Definitely. It has a nice ring to it, that.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, t-shirts galore. Get that merch money, my friend.
Totally.
Now, of course, obviously the Disco Derby, you would assist Mr. Stowe, but someone you took out of the Derby who's quite a massive gentleman himself was Caleb Valhalla.
Yes.
And do you think you maybe bit off a bit more when you could chew there with Caleb? Because he's
Caleb is a fantastic athlete. He's a big wrestler. I mean, you just have to have a look at him to see how well he's built and how strong he is. But I believe myself and Mr. Stowe will be able to deal with both Caleb and Aspen should the need arise. I'll be honest, it just happened to be Caleb. Me and Mr. Stowe would have taken out anyone should they have gotten in their way of us trying to win the Derby. And to be honest, if it wasn't for Caleb, Mr. Stowe would have won the Derby. He'd 100% won it because he was in the process of eliminating Aspen. I was just making sure the job got done. And then Caleb had to come along and ruin it for everyone else. So I'm really, not too happy about that fact.
Well, there's always time for course correction, soon or later. But, obviously Mr. Stowe didn't win the Derby. Is this a continuing partnership between you and Mr. Stowe, or is there a new goal for you both?
A continuing partnership, and the goal for us both is to get to the top of Discovery Wrestling. And we will do that by any means and any method necessary. We're also in a position we were joined by Mr. Manival, who is an excellent strategist when it comes to these sort of deals. So he was the one who invited me to work with Mr. Stowe, and I see it's already paying off. Mr. Stowe got to the final four of the Derby, would have won it if it wasn't for the interference of Caleb Valhalla. So it already shows that us together is a winning partnership.
Well, definitely a very monster partnership in the future of Discovery Wrestling. So obviously, the whole British wrestling scene is, had so many great events. Obviously, yesterday, Money in the Bank happened in 2002. I just want to know your thoughts on the show.
I've actually not managed to catch the show yet, to be honest. Yes, I know I was busy last night after the show. One of my jobs for tomorrow is to catch up on the show. So I'm unfortunately not managed to catch it yet.
Well, he's a busy man. What do you expect, viewers? He's the monster among Scottish wrestling. He has many things to do. But one thing I will talk about is another show that's happening later down the line in this year. AEW All In at Wembley Stadium. I want to know your thoughts on AEW coming to the UK.
I think it's absolutely brilliant because, as WWE have found coming over with Money in the Bank and the last couple of shows have done, is that the UK, for at least mainstream TV wrestling, is absolutely starved of it. There's a lot of fantastic indie promotions all across the UK. There's hundreds of them probably, but the UK crowds are always just so hot. You always see it when you watch whenever Raw or SmackDown comes to the UK. Is the crowds are always so much more alive. And like I was saying to you with Community Pro Wrestling, it's really the crowds that make wrestling. Although obviously these TV companies, they're all about viewership and that's where their money comes from. But at least I found watching it during the pandemic where there wasn't a crowd, it just didn't have that same spark. It was just felt flat. But as crowds started to come back and the shows started to get crowds, it just vastly improved. So I think it's fantastic that they're coming over to the UK.
No, absolutely. There's some people said, mostly Americans, have said that, AEW have bit off more than they can chew. They can't sell all these tickets for a UK crowd. And as we've shown, we've got them nearly to 70,000 in Wembley Stadium. Do you think UK wrestling fans' passion is kind of underappreciated?
Oh, 100%. Because that's a perfect example you use there, is that people are saying, oh, they'll never sell this thing. It's like, the demand for wrestling here is so great. And these shows, so I think they sold out, in like a day or two? So almost sold, so pretty much instantly. Just shows that there is a huge demand. But I feel especially with AEW, that's what people have said for all of AEW shows. Like, even if you start with the original All In, is like, oh, they'll never sell out that crowd, they sold it out. Oh, they'll never sell out Double or Nothing, they've sold it out. They'll never continue a weekly T show, and they have. And it's just continued and continued. I think people underestimate the demand for wrestling in general, because I feel it's seen as more like a sideshow, carny sport sort of thing. But it's this huge number of fans want to come and see it, and when there's opportunity, they virtually always do.
No, absolutely. You mentioned there AEW that always people seem to underappreciate or underestimate the show. They can't sell this, or look at them now. They've got free TV shows now going on. Why do you think people have such a undermining vision for AEW and think it's just never going to exceed?
I honestly don't know. I guess some people are just a bit devoted to what they like, and that's not what they like. Because fair enough, if you don't like AEW, fair enough, don't watch it. Other people will. But I feel, especially since AEW came in, it's only been a good thing because there's more promotions, means there's more work for wrestlers, more shows for fans, more opportunities for guys coming up. And it's one of those things like a rising tide raises all boats. So if there's more work there is for guys, the more great shows there is, and the more great shows there is, the more chance we have to get more talent to come over to the UK, and the more great talent there is come over to the UK, and more chance that guys here can work with them and improve, and then get back to the other UK guys, and it should just raise the whole scene in general.
Absolutely. So many great UK talent. And I want to know, Monstrum, yourself, if you had to see some UK talent on the show of All In, a male, a female, and a tag team, who would you want to see on that show from the UK wrestling scene?
Oh, there's so many. There's so many quality talent. From a tag team, I'd really love to see Kingston and North up there. They are so good. They are a very good tag team. They could kill it with all the guys on those tag teams. So I'd love to see them face off against like the Lucha Bros or the Young Bucks or something like that. I think those guys could really tear the house down with them. For a women's wrestler, it has to be Emerson Jane. She won the Derby last night, and she is a top talent. I think she's the best independent woman in the UK right now. I think she's absolutely fantastic, and every single match she has is an absolute banger, and she's just a top talent, and the way she's improved herself continuously it's incredible to see, and I think she would be fantastic at that. And as for Amelia, so other than obviously myself or my associates, I'd like to see someone like Darius. He's really good. Darius, he's really good. Maybe Ian Skinner as well. He's fantastic. Just a few top talents up there who I'd love to see.
It just shows that the UK wrestling scene is booming with so many great
exactly.
all around. But I want to know for yourself, if you had to have a dream match on All In from the AEW roster, who?
That's a very, very good one. I think this is the classic answer. Everyone wants to do Omega. I mean, it's the classic, but I feel personally of myself, I'd love to go. It'd be Moxley, I think, is where I'd personally love to go because I feel I enjoy his match because he just feel a bit more like a fight. Of course, I'd love to face absolutely any of them. They're all top talent, but there's something about Moxley's fights that just they feel like a fight. They feel like real, and that's something. That's that storytelling that I was on a bit earlier. That Moxley's fantastic at making it feel real, and I think that's why I quite like to face him.
No, it's a good call. I mean, just be careful though. I mean, you could definitely give a good punch and Moxley might spur blood all over you, so be careful.
Could be, but I've got a mask, so it's fine.
He's fought ahead. Look at that, folks. He's fought ahead of the tactical play. It's great to see. Obviously, wrestling itself, it's just so booming right now. Some people have always asked me and said, "Oh, do you think wrestling will get back to like days of the Attitude Era or like Monday Night Wars, where it's like 1 million, 2 million views?" I think with the way streamings go and everything, that's not possible. But Monstrum, would you agree, or do you think there's just a chance?
I agree. It's probably not going to get back to those same levels, purely TV viewer wise. But nothing's going to get back to those levels because the way we consume media has changed so much. It's all streaming and all recording and all things like that. But even if you look at just conventional TV, is it the final episode of Game of Thrones? I think had like a couple million viewers, and that was obviously the biggest TV show in the world at that point. But about 10, 15 years ago, the final episode, I think it was Seinfeld, had something like 15 million viewers, which is like more than 3 times it.
Jesus.
But that's just because the way we consume media has completely changed. And it's all online, it's all streaming, it's all YouTube and things like that. So I think the popularity of wrestling is definitely rising. I think the likes of new companies like AEW coming in, and then companies like Impact having a bit of a renaissance and really sort of taking off, I think is only going to help that fact.
No, absolutely. Definitely a dream situation. But something I love to do with guests on the show is a dream scenario. Monstrum, I want you to give me any opponent of all time you wanted to face in a particular match type for any championship. So anything from past, right now, who would you want for any particular championship?
All right, I'll give you a couple. I'll give you one from the past and one from right now. So from the past, I mean, it's the man I've taken the most inspiration for most of my gimmick and my moves and things like that, and that'd be Vader. I would love to face Vader in Tokyo Dome. I just a normal match, but just a straight up, I don't know, all Japan title match, and just boom, just go for each other. I think that's my amazing scenario. If I woke up with superpowers one day and I could do anything, that's what I would do. I'd create that to happen. Right now, who would I like to face? I am absolutely desperate. It's the one man I want to face more than anything else at the moment on the British scene, and that's Will Cruz. I really want to face Will Cruz, and I'd love to face him just in a regular match where we can just go in and start beating the crap out of each other, and I think that'd be amazing.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, Vader, and he's done great stuff in Japan. It seems like big men are very much appreciated in Japanese wrestling. Why do you think that is?
Oh, I think that's brilliant because I think they really appreciate it in Japan because of the style they work there. Because it is a lot where you're like your Omegas and your Okadas, and it's beautiful, crisp, technical wrestling and fight and fire. And I feel so these big men characters work so well in Japan because they just disrupt the status quo of that. Every so often you'll get the guys like Vader or Stan Hansen come through Japan and they'll just start battering for, and it's like the fight back, and no, they can't quite do it. And I just feel their style meshes so well with the Japanese style, and the Japanese crowd seems to love it so much, and it helps really guys get over. Because you look at the guys like Masawa and things like that, he really got over in facing the likes of Stan Hansen and Vader. So it was fantastic. And that would be a personal dream of mine, is to go in following their footsteps and go and be a big man in Japan. I think that'd be a fantastic.
Well, the monster among the Scottish moving to the monster among the Japanese. Ooh, that's a hefty challenge there, pal. You mentioned the Tokyo Dome there. Is that your dream performance in the Tokyo Dome?
I think that would be very, very. It must be up there. It must be up there because you see the Tokyo Dome and sort of two big guys going at each other. You see the likes of when Vader and things were over in Japan, fighting the likes of like Bam Bam and Stan Hansen and things like that. I don't know what it is about the Tokyo Dome when there's two big guys going at each other. It just it adds another level to it, because if you go to like other great stadiums across in like the States and things like that, there's good, but I think there's something about the fact it's a closed roof as well, traps the sound in. I think it just makes it, just elevates it that wee bit.
Just makes it ever so sweet. And obviously New Japan has so many great factions: United Empire, Bullet Club, Chaos. I want to know, Monstrum, if you had to be given an opportunity to join any of these amazing New Japan factions, which one would you immediately want to go to and why?
Oh, it's a very, very good question. It's going to sound cliche, but it's got to be Bullet Club, to be honest. Because, just for fun, I'd make a fortune on t-shirts right off the bat. which is what we're all in this for. And two, is because like they've got a couple big guys in there, and I feel I could really add something to there because they don't have a big masked guy. But then again, the guys they do have there are top quality talents, and there's just something cool about being in Bullet Club. It just, you can say you're part of Bullet Club. It just makes that wee difference. And let's be honest, much as we don't want to admit, we all want to have our own custom Bullet Club t-shirt. Let's be honest. Come on, yeah.
Hey, we all would. I would love a Soul Club. You would love a Monster Club.
Exactly. We all want it. Yeah.
Indeed, we do. But obviously, your mask as well. How would you want to adjust your mask to Bullet Club theme?
Probably make it black and white. I think that'd be our best shout. Black and white would be cool.
No bullets on it, maybe, or anything like that.
That could be cool. Yeah, a couple of bullet holes or something could be quite nice. Probably skull and crossbones on there as well. Yeah.
The mind's racing. The potential would go in.
Potential.
Well, that is it. Well, Monstrum, this has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me.
Oh, absolutely. But you know what I like to do with every guest before we finish up? Future dates. If people want to see you in the ring, what have you got lined up for the rest of the year?
Yep, for the rest of you can catch me several places across Scotland. I'm booked at pretty much all the CPW shows, so you can catch me there. I am booked at the next disco show. I'm not sure, I've not announced what that date is yet, but I will be there. Mr. Stowe will be addressing the facts that we should have won the derby. We will be making things right there. You can catch me down in Manchester in October at Sovereign Pro Wrestling. Me and Mr. Wright down there. That's a fantastic. If you can make it down for there, that's going to be the next big UK promotion. Sov Pro. I put every penny I have on that being the next sort of Progress ICW. That's going to be the next big one. Sovereign Pro Wrestling. So you can catch me down there. And I believe I've also got APW in September, so you can catch me there. But just catch me on any of my social medias. Any match I have, I will be putting up on there, so you'll be able to catch me.
Well, absolutely. And don't worry, viewers, if you're lazy enough or anything like that, I will put Monstrum's Instagram link in the description of this video, so you have no excuses to click and check out the monster.
Exactly.
Well, hey, I have been Soul. He has been Monstrum. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for another episode of the Soul Sessions.